It only took 90 seconds to upend this Arizona family's life forever. Two sisters sprinted to the corner when they heard a distant ice cream truck. The younger ran home to grab a jacket while her sister waited with the money. But when the girl returned 90 seconds later, her sister was gone. 24 years later, the family still doesn't know what happened to little Mikelle Biggs. Let's recap what we do know. Hey, thanks for watching True Crime Recaps. I'm Amy, and I really appreciate you spending a little time with me today. So I want to tell you something that only a handful of people know about me. I used to drive an ice cream truck. Well, I drove it for one day, and then I had to quit because I was spending the entire time eating my product. But let me tell you, when the music is going, kids will appear out of nowhere, running toward the truck. They can hear it from miles away. And that's what I want you to think of in this case, the jingle of an ice cream truck. So 11-year-old Mikelle Biggs and her sister, 9-year-old Kimber, lived in a small neighborhood in Mesa, Arizona. Mikelle had big dreams. She wanted to be a Disney animator when she grew up, and by all accounts, she had everything it took. She was smart, she was friendly, she was a talented artist and musician, but sadly, her dreams would never come true. It's around 5:50 p.m. on January 2nd, 1999. The girls are playing outside when they hear that unmistakable jingle. They hustle inside to grab money from their mother, Tracy. With 50 cents each, the girls race to the corner of Toltec Street and El Morro Avenue, only 4 doors down from their front yard. Mikelle takes Kimber's new pink and white bike. Kimber is on foot. You gotta love sisters. The girls wait and wait, but the ice cream truck never comes. It's getting late, it's cold. Even in Arizona, it can still drop to the high 40s in January. So Kimber is chilly, so she runs home to grab a jacket. When she returns, 90 seconds later, Mikelle is gone. Her bike is tipped over in the grass, the front tire is still spinning, and her 2 quarters lay on the ground beside it. So flyers go up within hours. Hundreds of people, police officers, volunteers, they descend on the area. Mikelle can't have gotten far. The evidence suggested that Mikelle was running from someone. She dropped the bike in quarters and took off toward home, but whoever was chasing her was bigger and faster. Police compiled a list of local sex offenders and they began knocking on doors. They all had an alibi for that short window when Mikelle went missing, but one in particular stood out among the rest. Dee Blaylock was a part-time landscaper and diehard Arizona Cardinals fan. He and his family lived 2 blocks away from the Biggs family and across the street from where Mikelle took piano lessons. When she was grabbed, he claims he was fixing his lawnmower and watching the football game in his garage. It was Jake Plummer's Cardinals against Troy Aikman's Cowboys. Kickoff was at 4 p.m. His wife backed up his alibi and a search of Dee's home came up empty. But there was a trailer in his backyard. They needed a warrant to search it. When they came back with one, guess what? The trailer was gone. Was Mikelle in that trailer? The police brought search dogs to sniff the area, but the scent went cold within a few feet of her bike. Whoever took Mikelle drove up, grabbed her, and sped away. The 90-second window has baffled investigators for the past 24 years. Nobody heard her scream. Nobody saw her get abducted. It was like she had vanished literally into thin air. Whoever took Mikelle must have been lying in wait. They must have been stalking the girls in their car, waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike. Well, what are the odds of some creep driving by at the exact moment that Kimber ran inside to grab a jacket? The police dug into the ice cream theory. The girls had heard that truck coming. The jingle was unmistakable. Maybe one of the drivers grabbed her. Well, police never confirmed whether or not a truck was actually in the area. All the local drivers checked out. Maybe whoever grabbed Mikelle used the ice cream music to lure the girls away from home. But if it wasn't the ice cream driver or the local sex offenders, who kidnapped Mikelle Biggs? As with most child abductions, police turn their attention to the family. After all, less than 1% of missing children are abducted by a stranger. Tracy was home when Mikelle went missing. Her husband, Mikelle's father, Darian, claimed to be at work, but Darian had a secret. Mikelle's father was having an affair he'd already confessed to his wife about. But on the night Mikelle went missing, lust got the better of him, and Darian was at his special friend's house. This came to light when he failed a voluntary polygraph test, although they excused it based on the emotional trauma he was clearly going through. Darian got angry when they probed deeper about Mikelle's disappearance. He allegedly even flipped a table in the interrogation room when the questions cut a little too deep. But, Darian was right to be angry. His daughter was missing and he had nothing to do with it. He felt like the police were wasting time questioning him when they should be looking at his neighbor, Dee Blaylock. During interviews, Dee came off as a real law and order type of guy. He told reporters, if you're my neighbor and I see something suspicious, I'll be calling 911. But others described Dee as the neighborhood drunk, but basically harmless. And though his wife was his only alibi, police saw no reason to pursue him further. The case went cold almost as quickly as Mikelle went missing. Even with 800 pieces of evidence and 10,000 tips, nobody could figure out what happened to her. It would go down as the most intense investigation in Mesa police history. Kimber's room was right next to Mikelle's. She remembers her mother spending long nights sobbing on Mikelle's bed. She just wanted everything to end, to go back to the way things used to be, but they never would. Later that year, Dee was back on police radar. On September 27th, 1999, a woman who lived near the Biggs found her neighbor, Dee, hiding behind her refrigerator with his pants unzipped. He attacked her, he broke her neck, and he put her in a chokehold. He beat her relentlessly until she fell unconscious. Dee lit the house on fire and left her for dead. But the neighbor regained consciousness and called for help. On her way to the hospital, she told paramedics, Mikelle Biggs, the girl that's missing, he took Mikelle Biggs. You have to get him. Detectives dug back into Dee's alibi after his arrest, and what do you know? It started to crack. With her husband in jail, Dee's wife was more forthcoming about their relationship. She was submissive and obedient. She behaved according to her husband's demands. During the game, but before Mikelle went missing, she brought Dee a sandwich in the garage. He told her to leave him alone for the rest of the night. Therefore, she couldn't say with 100% certainty that Dee was still in the garage when Mikelle went missing. Dee's criminal past was a surprise to his neighbors. He had 3 prior convictions for sexual assault, kidnapping, and child molestation. This new wrinkle in his alibi made Dee the primary suspect. It wasn't a kidnapping case anymore. They were looking at him for murder. For attacking the neighbor, Dee was sentenced to 187 years in prison. He's never been charged with any crimes related to Mikelle's disappearance and presumed death. He allegedly made some comments in jail admitting his involvement, but nothing can be substantiated. 5 years after she went missing, Mikelle's family held an empty casket funeral service for her. At the time, they believed whoever took Mikelle probably killed her shortly after. Then, in March 2018, a glimmer of hope shined new light on the case. Over 1,700 miles away, in Neenah, Wisconsin, police got a report about a strange dollar bill. Someone used it to buy a box of Girl Scout cookies. There was a message written around the perimeter that looked like a child's handwriting. It read, "My name is Mikelle Biggs, kidnapped from Mesa, Arizona. I'm alive." There were a few things about this bill that made police question its authenticity. For one, the name Mikelle was spelled wrong. The message spelled it M-I-K-E-L when it should be spelled M-I-K-E-L-L-E. Obviously, Mikelle Biggs knows how to spell her own name. Plus, the K-E-L was also written in cursive, while the rest of the note was printed. Neenah police were torn. On the one hand, the name was spelled wrong. Weird. But why would someone pick a 20-year-old case unless they knew something about it? The bill was printed in 2009, 10 years after Mikelle went missing. Tracing the dollar would be borderline impossible. There's no way of knowing how many people exchanged it, where it's been, or where it came from. Kimber was also skeptical. She didn't believe her sister wrote the note. After all, Mikelle would have been 21 years old when the bill was printed. To her, it looked like someone trying to stir up drama. The handwriting wasn't Mikelle's, she didn't think. To Kimber, whoever wrote this note was trying to imitate a kid's handwriting. Mom and Dad refocused their attention on D. Blaylock. He was doomed to spend the rest of his life in jail. Admitting to Mikelle's murder couldn't make things any worse. So they asked him point blank, "Did you take our daughter?" He denied any involvement, but made a strange comment after the fact. According to Tracy, D said he can't be held responsible for what his other personality does. Is that a man with nothing to lose toying with grief-stricken parents? Or does D really have other personalities, and do his other personalities know something we don't? Today, Kimber is married with a 10-year-old son. She told People magazine she's a helicopter mom. Yeah, girl. She never lets this boy out of her sight. Of course, even if he runs behind a slide in the park, Kimber will get up and move to keep her eyes on him. Who can blame her? It only took 90 seconds for someone to snatch her sister, and she'll be damned if she lets the same thing happen to her boy. For the longest time, Kimber blamed herself for what happened to her sister. If she had just toughed out the cold, maybe Mikelle would be alive today. The guilt kept her up at night, and she'd cry herself to sleep. But those kinds of thoughts will drive anyone insane. Her mother helped convince her otherwise. The only person responsible for what happened to Mikelle is the person who took her. And if both girls were out there, they could have easily both been taken too. As of 2023, the Mikelle Biggs case remains wide open. Do you have a theory?
And that's your recap.
Thanks for hanging out with us today.
If you like getting all the crime in half the time, go ahead and tap that subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a story.
We're here Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays, but don't go away. Catch up on more recaps right here, right now.
Until next time, take care.